All right, I am going to try to talk over the wind. It has been blowing like crazy the last 2 weeks here. But what I'm going to do is kind of talk about 4th gen Camaro aftermarket wheels with fitment issues, whatever, rubbing, all that stuff. If you can think of it, I've probably had issues with it with this car. Little background, this is a 95, extremely dirty Z28. We've owned it for 20 years now. We bought it with 63,000 miles. It's got 133,000 on it. Weekend, I mean, anymore, we put maybe 1,500, 2,000 miles on it a year. But the tires that were on there are about 10 years old now. The wheels that I put on were not the correct size. They were 5x120s, which is the BMW fitment, not the 5x120.65 or 4.75. And they've been a great wheel. You know, they looked good. The thing I didn't like is they were only 8 inches wide, and they were cheap when I bought them. These are ADR M Sports. They don't make them anymore. I do like the look. The gunmetal held up very well, but if you look here, this is actual like pitting in the clear coat all the way around the wheel. And this car I kept immaculate. You can see I live on a dirt road. If you watch my other videos, you'll know that. So you'll see dirt in here, but I did everything I could to keep it's been sitting outside, so that's why they're dirty, to keep these things from doing this, and no matter what I did, they did it. The tires were Continental Extreme Contact DWSs. Before the DWS 06, these things are really old. And I always had issues. It didn't matter if I ran 44 PSI or 28 PSI. They always wore in the center faster than the sides. I think it was just a matter of the wheels that I had chosen for it. So this time I went with C7 Z06 wheels in gunmetal. I even bought gunmetal lug nuts for it. I love the wheels. They look great. Here's the catch. They're positive 56 millimeter backspace, and that will not fit on the rear of these without one of two things: cutting the bump stops back or putting on a wheel spacer. Say what you will about wheel spacers. Everybody you're going to get opinions from both camps. I'm doing it because I don't want to cut the bump stops, and the wheel sat so far in the wheel well, I did not like that. So I put on, these are 25 millimeter or 1 inch wheel spacers. These are 5x120.65 or 5x4.75 made for F bodies. They even fit over the hub. If you've got an earlier 4th gen F body that has the rear hubs that are a little oversized, they fit right over the top. Had no issues putting them on. You have a little bit of poke with the existing wheel studs. However, on these wheels, just like most aftermarket wheels, there's a little cavity back there, and they fit perfectly inside of that cavity. What I chose to go with is a 17-inch wheel. These are 18s. These were an 18, 255 40 18s. I like the 18. I like the way it looked. But in our roads, that lack of sidewall on this car, it just rode rough. Really, really rough. So I went back down to a 17 on this. So these are 275 40 17. Quite a bit wider than stock. These are 9.8 inches or 6 inches or something. These are a full 10.8 inches wide. So it definitely looks a lot meatier on there. Like I said, the only way to get them to fit is with one of two modifications: either the spacer or cutting the bump stops. My bump stops were completely gone. I just happened to notice it last year. So these are actually what everyone puts on. These are Jeep bump stops. And I think the previous owner that had the car actually cut these because they're all hacked up right here to make them. He must have had aftermarket wheels or whatever. So I put those in. The other thing I did do is put in airbags or drag bags. I put them in both sides. And you can run it on a T and put pressure in, and it's supposed to equalize, but I didn't want to do that because if I had one side setting lower than the other, I wanted to be able to adjust it. So what I did is the old school trick that people used to do for air shocks. Ran the lines back here, drilled holes, and then I had to open up the holes on the plates a little bit, and then I just put the valves right back here. You don't even notice them really, you know, if you're not looking. It just looks like license plate screws or something like that. I only run them at 70 pounds, or 7 PSI, because there's no need to go any more than that. All right, let's see if I will pause this real quick and I'll show you what they look like with the spacers. All right, there they are on the car. I still have the car jacked up a little bit, but that's kind of what they look like. There's their spacer, and here's where they sit. Almost perfectly flush with the wheel well. And then they do add a nice little look without, in my opinion, without sticking out too far. So if you are going to use, I should have mentioned the brand. These are OE wheels is the brand. If you're going to use these wheels, you will need a spacer, or you're going to have to cut your bump stops. There's no way around it.